one thing and you mix it with another thing, then it hardens. But if you add some in that's not supposed to be there and it's fully developed,
right,
you're not going to take that out. Like if you added oil, you threw some oil in the epoxy, like, now you f***ed that whole thing up. That's kind of what you're doing to a person when you raise a person famous. If you take some reality star from the time they're 5 and then they're in a sitcom and a movie, and then you've gone through your whole, I don't know why I said reality star, but you've gone through your whole life. If you're that person, if you're Justin Bieber, you've gone through your whole life.
Under that eye.
Under the eye, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people paying attention. Like, you never had a moment like you did where you're working for the railroad tracks.
Right.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Joe Rogan just walked into a discussion that people have been dodging for years, and now he's pointing his finger directly at Ellen DeGeneres, Diddy, and Justin Bieber's early days in the spotlight. What he's suggesting ain't just about industry guidance. It's about what truly happened behind those locked doors when Bieber was far too young to even process it. And if Rogan's piecing this together correctly, then the version of Bieber's story we all believed might not even scratch the surface. Now, if you've been tracking how these conversations have been evolving lately, you already know certain names are surfacing in ways nobody was prepared for before. And right now, the attention ain't sitting on Diddy alone anymore. It's expanding outward. And Joe Rogan stepping into that territory got people listening differently because Rogan ain't approaching this like breaking news or courtroom drama, but from repeated behaviors and footage that always existed but never got challenged until recently. And once he began connecting the pieces, one name that kept appearing heavily was Ellen DeGeneres. Now pause right there, because for years Ellen has been viewed as harmless daytime TV, laughter, giveaways, and good vibes. But Rogan flipping that perception got people unsettled because he's highlighting how genuinely close she was to Diddy. Not just brief appearances, but consistent access and interactions suggesting something far beyond the surface. And when you place that beside what's already been revealed about Diddy's private settings, controlled environments, those invite-only rooms where nothing escapes, suddenly the question transforms. It's no longer just about who surrounded Diddy. It's about who else had entry into those identical spaces.
Oh, it's great. So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Uh-huh.
No, it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
Mm-hmm. And then it will carry on there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then No, I mean the after party.
Mm-hmm. No, I know about them.
Oh.
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late. Because, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I promise you I'm not going to let you down on this big one.
All right,
For
good.
real.
Good.
Your shoes, your feet are going to have blisters. You're going to be dancing so hard.
I can't wait.
And Rogan didn't stop there, because once he pulled Ellen into the frame, the discussion began shifting toward roles and patterns pointing to enablers, connectors, individuals who weren't merely present but actively helped sustain those environments. And that's where the name Ghislaine Maxwell starts getting referenced in discussions, not as a direct connection but as an example of how these structures function. Now consider that carefully. If powerful spaces exist, they don't maintain themselves. So the genuine question becomes who is controlling access, who is making the introductions, who is keeping everything appearing clean on the outside while darkness stayed buried within. And based on how Rogan framed it, Ellen's position in Hollywood granted her a level of reach that most people never thought to question back then. Now bring it back to Justin Bieber, because this entire situation revolves around him. A young kid, 13 years old, fresh from Canada, stepping into a universe built on authority, influence, and connections he couldn't fully grasp yet. Initially, everything appeared legitimate. Usher stepping in, directing him, unlocking doors, showing him how the industry operates. But then one of those doors led straight to Diddy. And that's exactly where Rogan begins asking the serious questions. Why was Diddy so focused on spending private moments with someone that young? Why were there experiences being referenced that couldn't be discussed openly? And why did everything sound acceptable back then but feels completely alarming right now?
Tired of being played out. Like, all of this is weird. And it's just, It's the symbolism. It's all of that. I'm tired of Usher. I wish somebody would come out and just like sue him. Like we need Usher. No, we do. We need a victim to come out and be honest about him, because what I'm realizing is that he's gonna fake the funk into the victim. Man. He's just gonna keep on sucking the devil's. And I don't know, you know, like with a baby, that pacifier, sometimes you gotta pull it out. You know what I'm saying? And take it away, right? When the baby's used to sucking on the pacifier.
Because old footage resurfaced. Diddy speaking about having alone time with Bieber, referencing experiences he refused to reveal, describing it as something every young person would fantasize about. And Rogan highlighted something straightforward but deeply troubling. Real mentorship doesn't usually arrive wrapped in secrecy, so what exactly was being concealed? Now here's where the energy shifts, because it's not just about what was spoken back then, it's about how Bieber has carried himself ever since.
Check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
Going crazy.
Crazy.
The raw interviews, the emotional collapses, the way he speaks about shielding younger artists like Billie Eilish. That didn't sound like someone simply managing the pressure of fame. It sounded deeply personal, and even Bieber himself has dropped hints about betrayal, people he placed trust in revealing completely different faces behind closed doors. Now Rogan grabs that and ties it directly back to the environment. Because if a young artist gets placed inside rooms they never selected, surrounded by dominant figures, then the accountability doesn't rest on just one individual. It stretches across every single person who had access.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her.
It was painful for me being that young and stuck inside this industry without knowing who to turn to, and everybody, you know, claiming they loved me and then flipping on you without hesitation. I just want to shield her, you know, I don't want her to go through that. And that's exactly where Ellen re-enters the picture, because if she was tight with Diddy, relaxed inside that circle, present within that world, then people begin wondering how much did she actually know. And that question alone completely reshapes the entire story. Now here's where things sink even lower, because Rogan didn't frame this as one isolated situation. He framed it as a recurring system where young talent gets reeled in early, exposed to environments they can't comprehend, then expected to carry on like absolutely nothing occurred. And that's the moment other names start entering the discussion. Bryce Hall, young, rising quickly, connects with Will Smith, then suddenly everything crumbles. Public struggles, emotional meltdowns, career destruction. Jaguar Wright even touched on this and directly called Will out by name.
All of those children that were harmed and corrupted while in his care grew up to be men. Boys like Bashir Gray, August Alsina, your own son. Like, your own son. Do people forget about that voice clip that I played from Brother Belial?
They trying to send him out so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present that tape.
It's just great. I'm watching him, you know, he's with my man Charlie Mack. So Charlie was with me every step of the way. First out the limo. So Charlie has been with me, you know, 30 years coming up in the business. So, you know, he's surrounded by a whole lot of strength. He's surrounded by a whole lot of love.
August Alsina entering elite circles, exiting with visible emotional wounds, speaking on encounters that felt nothing like healthy relationships. Even Jaden Smith getting brought up in broader discussions about being exposed to powerful environments at a very young age. Now, none of these situations are carbon copies of each other, but Rogan's argument wasn't about establishing one single truth. It was about revealing repetition. Because when multiple young artists enter the same categories of spaces and emerge visibly broken, the pattern becomes nearly impossible to dismiss.
I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on several times, and it, not involving romanticism. He gave me his blessing. And I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly and really, really deeply loved and have a ton of love for her. I devoted myself.
You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we basically, we broke up.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
Now back to Bieber, because the heaviest question isn't simply what occurred, it's who permitted it. Usher introduced him. Did he really look out for him? Ellen existed within that same circle, tossing him birthday shoutouts, even assigning him nicknames like Cuddle McNuggle, things that never felt right, then brushing it aside with a "you don't need to know why." Now here's another dimension Rogan touched on, which is timing. Because as additional names got dropped, certain individuals started moving differently. Ellen became less visible publicly, a quieter presence, stepping back without any real explanation. And while that doesn't confirm anything, it does draw closer attention, because timing in situations like these always triggers suspicion. Now ask yourself this. If everything was truly innocent, why do those old clips suddenly appear so disturbing? Why do past interactions feel deeply wrong now when they felt completely fine before? And most critically, why do so many people connected to these environments either go silent or respond in ways that never fully confront the questions being raised? So now you've got a young artist who clearly shows signs of carrying something far heavier. You've got powerful figures woven through identical circles. Then resurfacing footage, evolving narratives, and a pattern that keeps recycling itself with different faces. So the real question becomes, was Justin Bieber simply another young star navigating celebrity life? Or was he someone who witnessed and endured something that the world is only now beginning to uncover? And if that's true, how many other stories exist following this exact same pattern? How many individuals stay silent because speaking the truth demands too heavy a price? Because if what Rogan is pointing toward carries real weight, then this discussion isn't centered on just one person anymore. It's about how the entire system functions, who it shields, and who it destroys. So now FameX has to ask you, do you believe these are simply coincidences, or do you sense something far deeper tying all these pieces together that people are only now beginning to recognize? And if more voices begin stepping forward, what else do you think will be uncovered? Drop your perspective in the comments section below, and let's keep this conversation alive. Oh, and don't forget to slam that like button and hit subscribe for more real stories brought to you by FameX.